Baby. And we gotta keep it hype. Keep it hype. Represent it for life. You know how we do it. Woo! Hey. Jacksonville Jags. We don't mean to brag, but when we on the field, we got it in the bag. Jacksonville Jags. You know how we ball. Best believe it. Got the people screaming out, Duval. Jacksonville Jags. We don't mean to brag, but when we on the field, we got it in the bag. Jacksonville Jags. You know how we ball. Best believe it. Got the people screaming out, Duval. Okay, Jacksonville Jaguars. Too much for your crew to...
And what is going on, everybody? Welcome into Club Jaguar, your favorite spot for all your different Jaguars news and analysis. And look, we started up Club Jaguar this year, but look, it's looking like more of a soft opening, okay? I think Royal Club Jaguar will probably starting up in 2025. But nevertheless, the Jaguars are the number one team in the NFL on Tankathon. But yeah, before we get into all this talk, these streams are, of course, powered by BetUS. They're going to get you guys a 150% deposit bonus using promo code YouTube150. Boom, there's a graphic for you guys. So if you guys are interested in a new sports book, definitely go check them out. But we'll go ahead and bring in the usual suspects. First up, we got Jason for Jaguars United. What up, Jason?
Oh, not much, man. Pumped. I get to watch Red Zone this weekend. That's exciting, right?
Red Zone.
Right.
I mean, stress-free. I mean, I think we're already kind of in stress-free Jaguars football because I'm kind of at the point of, what's the word for it? Apathy, where we just don't really, they can't hurt me anymore. Okay. No. I watch them and I can still be embarrassed, but they're not going to ruin my Sunday or my week. Okay.
Absolutely not.
That's the point where we're at. And then we got coming in here, Jordan DeLugo from Gin Jag. What's up, Jordan?
Yo, how we doing?
I guess better than the Jaguars after the worst loss in franchise history. So we can definitely start with that. I mean, look, we, of course, you know, a lot of us when we were looking at this season, you know, we're 2-8, especially going into this week. Look, we're 2-8. We've seen a couple of head coaches get fired with, of course, Robert Saleh in September. A couple weeks ago, we saw Dennis Allen from the New Orleans Saints. You look at the Jaguars, they're 2-8, and they're coming into the Detroit Lions and a bye week after that. So you say, look, you know, this might be a good time to potentially fire somebody or at least just get the ball rolling in the right direction. And then you saw some reports, you know, Justina Anderson at Rap Sheet saying that, look, Shad Khan doesn't like to fire mid-season, but if, you know, the Jaguars do wind up getting blown out, that could potentially happen. And what did the Jaguars do? They suffer the worst loss in franchise history, losing by 46 points to the Detroit Lions. They have now gone 7 straight quarters without scoring a touchdown. So, you know, I guess we'll start with you, Jordan. Were you a little bit surprised that no moves were made when it comes to, you know, any firings that went on this week?
Honestly, I don't know how you can be surprised because this is a franchise that even when the national folks get on stuff, like it feels like they're almost always wrong or early or late or like Shad Khan marches to the beat of his own drum. And, you know, it is possible still that before next week changes are made before they take on the Texans. We've seen that happen in the past, like the Panthers. Maybe they're just getting their ducks in a row. I wouldn't count on it. I don't think anybody should be surprised by anything at this point with Shad Khan at the helm.
What about you, Jason? Were you surprised at all?
I was kind of more hoping than anything. The Shad Khan's known for saying that he likes to not make emotional decisions. So I was kind of expecting maybe something today. But really, at this point, does it really even matter? I mean, there's no accountability on this team. I mean, that's just the bottom line. I mean, we've seen it over the last 2 seasons. Absolutely no accountability for any of the players on the field for their execution. There's no accountability from Shad Khan to his employees, no matter who they are. I mean, how do you look at that game and watch the defense not be able to stop the Lions one time and say, we're good. Let's run it back next week? that's in any other industry, that's someone's getting fired. So there's no accountability from the top down. Doesn't really matter at this point. I mean, if we got a new coach, cool. If we got a new GM, cool. But it doesn't really matter until the end of the season, I guess.
Yeah, and the surprising thing to me is that, like, I guess maybe Doug Peterson isn't in a position to really do this, but like they haven't really shaken anything up. Like even when you look at the Jets, like, they may have fired, Robert Saleh, but they also shifted around. Like all of a sudden, Nate Hackett wasn't calling plays anymore, and they moved some other pieces around. The Jaguars, it seems, have just kind of stayed status quo when it comes to just everybody's responsibilities on this team. Like no one, we haven't even said, okay, maybe a third person, maybe this random person is going to start calling plays or something, or even like, hey, this group hasn't been good enough. We're going to let go of this. I don't know. We just haven't done anything. Like every single thing has been status quo, which is really crazy coming from a team that is 2-9. So maybe we're just in a situation where, Shad Khan understands that we're going nowhere and maybe just wants to, I guess, finish it out. I don't know. Like I know me, I'm the kind of person with my personality. Like if I understand something isn't working, I am going to go ahead and, move on from it. Okay. And, right now, a lot of people wonder, like, what does it do, firing Doug Peterson right now? I mean, it doesn't, when it comes to win losses, I don't think that's what it's about. I think it's just kind of showing that, hey, this isn't acceptable. We're just going to move into a different direction. I mean, everybody's expecting it. It's just a matter of like kind of when it happens. So, like, Jordan, do you think that like firing anybody mid-season, like, do you think that is necessarily an approach to take, or do you think it really matters?
Oh, I think it absolutely matters. I think if he was able to come out and get something done this week, it would show, for one, what Jason said, accountability. There has been no accountability. It would also show the fan base and everybody that works there and busts their butt every day that the owner has a pulse, that something is going to change, that the owner is taking this thing seriously. Because right now, I feel like the entire fan base and everybody that works at that building can look up and say, what the hell is going on? So yeah, I think it matters.
So if you were the owner, would you have gotten rid of Doug Peterson and Trent Baalke on Monday?
100%.
Yeah.
I mean, if I was the owner, Trent Baalke would not have ever been the general manager in the first place.
Yeah.
It's funny. I was kind of reading
couldn't
about
fire
Trent.
him after 2022, but I absolutely would have fired him after last year.
Mm-hmm.
I was reading about Trent Baalke yesterday, and it's ironic that he was fired in San Francisco after Tom Sula had a failed season. He brought in Chip Kelly, a college offensive guru who'd won at the college level, brought him in, won 2 games. They fired Chip Kelly, and then they fired Trent Baalke. In Jacksonville, the same thing happened. Brought in Urban Meyer, college coach, offensive guy who won at the college level. He won 2 games. They fired Urban Meyer, but they kept Trent Baalke. So the 49ers did it right, and the Jags did it wrong. And now we're sitting here.
No, you know what was
Let's
funny?
Be honest, though, the 49ers did take a minute. Like they let Trent Baalke win a power struggle with Jim Harbaugh, and then they let him hire Tom Sula. I mean, they took their time too.
This is what was funny because I think I posed a question on Twitter, and I was like, Trent Baalke has to get fired. There's no way you can hire another head coach with Trent Baalke as a GM. Like, what GM has ever had 3 head coaches in his home was like Trent Baalke? I was like, that probably was the last time a GM has had. It's just amazing how, like, it's almost like a Survivor tactic where, like, a lot of times in Survivor, like, some threats, they want to keep around bigger threats to, like, allow them to move themselves further in a game. It almost seems like that's what he does. It's like he's just really able to position himself in good spots. And, somehow, like, he doesn't seem like a likable guy, but for some reason, these owners have liked him enough to keep him around and give him opportunities after opportunities. So, of course, the hirings I mean, Jim Harbaugh is a fantastic head coach, and obviously Tom Sula and, Chip Kelly those are the type of coaches that you're going to get if you're going to keep around a Trent Baalke. So, I mean, I imagine I'm interested. Do you guys think that Trent Baalke will ultimately be the GM next year?
Did you just make a Survivor game show reference and comparing it to the Jaguars front office and expected us all to know what you're talking about? Did that just happen?
That did just happen. No, I was explaining to you a Survivor technique.
No,
that
I
they
get
do.
it.
Oh, okay. I'm just making sure.
You hide yourself behind a bigger target.
Because in Survivor you vote off somebody every week or whatever. I guess over there it's every 2 or 3 days, but like, a lot of times, like if you're a threat, you want to keep around somebody that's a more obvious target, and in this case, that's kind of what it feels like he does. Like he has an Urban Meyer. Obviously, you're pointing at him now. Like he sits there and whispers to Shad Khan, "Hey, this is the best set of coaches that you have ever had. So these guys are going to win games." And when that doesn't happen, when the wins don't come, they look at the head coach because it says, "Hey, I provided the players." So,
oh, I get it now. Okay, all right.
Okay,
yeah, it makes a lot of sense.
With that said,
yeah, I mean, I don't think Trent Baalke is the GM. There's no way. There is a way, but like I just don't see it happening. I actually think at some point you got to get rid of Baalke and Peterson before the season ends, because if you start bringing in coaches and GMs to interview, it might be a little awkward. Like imagine bringing in Bill Belichick into the building and Peterson's still here. I'm not saying I want Belichick. I do want Belichick, but that's not my point here. My point here is that like you can't bring him in and show him the facilities while Doug and Trent are meeting in the meeting rooms, So at some point, the search for the next coach GM is going to become more important than keeping these two guys.
What about you, Jordan? You think he's here next year?
No, I don't.
Yeah.
I think Shad Khan's going to have to make a move. I think he will. I think that he knows from a business standpoint, you ain't getting butts in seats next year with these two around. There's no way.
Yeah, and in my opinion, I think that Shad Khan will go after a big fish when it comes to a head coach. And just because there's so much on the line, I mean, the new stadium's in play, like, they're in the works, it's approved, it's going to happen. And you also have a quarterback that'll be going into his 5th year that, straight up, he came in here as this generational prospect, and for whatever reason, he hasn't lived up to that. And, a lot of people kind of look at the situation that he's in and say, "Hey, you guys kind of kill players and you guys kill coaches, and this isn't a great spot right now." So, for one way or another, he's got to get the best out of this quarterback because, like we've always struggled at the position. And then all of a sudden you bring in a guy that had all the best, I guess, measurables and all the best, pre-draft type of grades and everything on him. And he hasn't lived up to it. It feels like a lot of the situation that he's in hasn't really been great. So I do think that he goes after a big fish. And obviously that person is going to want to come here. And I don't know what, obviously Ben Johnson is a guy that everybody looks at. I don't know if they, try to dip their toes into any of the retread stuff. Like, I don't know if Bill Belichick is right for our situation. It would seem very, very Shad Khan-ish to kind of hire him, but I don't know if that's the best direction for the Jaguars right now. But I don't think that it's going to be like, you hire a Gus Bradley in 2013 because this place is so miserable. Like, he invested in the practice facility, the quarterback, the new stadium. Like, he's going to want to bring in somebody that actually brings in a winner. Let's be honest, Shad Khan's getting up in years a little bit, okay? He hasn't, all this team has done for him is bring him stress when it comes to, do I really like the game of football? Because I'll tell you one thing, I have not liked watching Jaguar football since he's been the owner of this team. So it's quite a sad situation. So do you guys kind of agree with him? Do you guys think that he goes after kind of a big fish, or do you think he just maybe settles potentially this upcoming coaching cycle?
I don't think he'll settle. I think he will try to go after a big fish, and I think Bill Belichick does make sense. I'm not saying like from my opinion. I'm saying Shad Khan, looking at his relationships, looking at what he's going to be trying to identify, and Bill Belichick, Diana Rossini said it, has his eyes on Jacksonville right now. He's interested. You got the quarterback. You got a lot of pieces. You got salary cap space. You got draft capital. You got an owner who is very, very patient, to say the least. And an owner that's willing to write a lot of big numbers on a paycheck. And you know, other than age, which obviously is a factor, there's only one actual football part of the Bill Belichick hiring that scares me. It's not his ability to coach. It's not his ability to coach the defense side of the ball. It's what he would do on offense. So before I could sign off on Bill Belichick, I would have to know like who is running the offense.
So is Bill Belichick, when he was with the Patriots, I imagine he was very, very involved in the offense. Do you think,
Yeah.
was a lot of it him, or did he give a lot of power to the court? Because that's what's kind of tricky with Bill Belichick, because he had so much control. Obviously, he was basically the GM. He was the GM of the Patriots, and I imagine he had his toes into every single position group. Do you think that he will have a lot of control of this offense if he comes here?
I mean, if you've seen anything on Bill Belichick, he's extremely involved in every aspect of the game. He's obsessed with football. He's obsessed with the details of the game. And I know I get the sentiment that people don't want Bill Belichick because he's older. And I think it's more because most people just want like a younger guy, which I get. But I'm all on board for Bill Belichick. I mean, this team, this franchise has a history of a losing culture. They're, like we've said, no accountability, no culture, no mindset. Bill Belichick is anti all of the things that we have been for decades. You bring Bill Belichick in, he immediately changes the culture. He immediately holds people accountable. I was watching a documentary on Tom Brady, and they were interviewing players on the Patriots, and they said Bill Belichick was hardest on Tom Brady than any other player and would like chew his ass out every single film room. Like, that's what we need. We need a guy that's going to hold our best players accountable. And we're paying Josh Allen. We're paying Tyson Campbell. Even you can lump a Lucan in there. A lot of money for their positions. And you're telling me one of those guys can't step up and make one play against the Lions? One singular play to get us the ball back or to stop a third down? Like, that's accountability because we know the talent's there. But you're paying those guys way too much money at three positions at the different levels of the defense for the Lions to score every single possession. Like, I'm sorry. Like, that's just unexcusable to me. I think there's a chance that Belichick can come in. He could probably bring Vrabel with him, which is another guy that I love. So you bring in Vrabel and Belichick, and, like, I think they'll figure it out. So, and to everyone that's like, no, we don't go that direction, like, what's the worst that could happen? We're about to pick first 3 out of the last 5 years. It can't get much worse than this. So why not give a shot to the greatest coach of all time? That's all. That would be my only argument.
Do you get at all worried though about if his current style of coaching is something that will resonate with players right now? Because we had Tom Coughlin, who was kind of hard ass in there, and I think things went a little bit sideways, maybe just because that 3-headed trio just was a little bit too awkward, and because not a lot of teams have the EVP. Like, do you think his coaching style is something that can fit in the NFL?
Yes.
I think, yeah. I mean, I'll let Jordan comment on it. I mean, I think you talk to any players, they hated playing for him in the moment, but everyone that's looked back was like the greatest coach you've ever had. So, I mean, I think something speaks to that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that this locker room, the guys that are currently here, would welcome somebody that would bring that type of accountability every single day. And it's not just him demanding of you. He's not asking anything from anyone that he's not giving himself. Like, Bill Belichick is meticulous. He is so hard work. Like, and you look at him on all these different shows that he's on and the way he breaks down the game. I mean, he's still got it. Like, he's still sharp as a tack. And I know a lot of people I've criticized what they did offensively at the end of the line there with the Patriots, and rightfully so. And everybody talks about, oh, he can't be the GM. You look through the Patriots drafts with him as general manager. Is it perfect? No, but there's a lot more hits than there have been in Jacksonville. So maybe he's not going to be the GM wherever he lands, but he's going to have a lot of control. And I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing.
The two arguments I just want to quickly debunk that Belichick gets all the time is that he couldn't draft well, because everyone's like, oh, Tom Brady on the offense. Well, there's an entire side of the ball that Tom Brady never took a snap on. And Brady drafted all those guys and signed all those guys. And those defenses were good year after year after year. And then the argument that he only went with Tom Brady, he only had 4 years, four full years without Tom Brady. One of them, he won 11 games with Matt Castle. A second one, he won 10 games with Mac Jones. And then he had 2 seasons where he didn't do well. So he only had 2 bad seasons without Tom Brady and 2 good seasons without Tom Brady. So I don't buy into this. He only won because of Brady.
And it's also like, it was easy to blame the coaching staff with what happened over the last couple years in New England offensively. I'll tell you what, look at what those quarterbacks that he had to work with are doing now. And obviously he drafted Mac Jones. So, I mean, that's partially his fault, but Mac Jones has played horrible. And, Bailey Zappi, he's probably on a practice squad somewhere. Maybe it wasn't just the coaching, right? And you don't have to worry about quarterback here. You have your quarterback locked in till like 2030. So again, I'm not saying that he's my number one candidate, but I see why it would be appealing to Shad Khan. And I think anybody who just writes it off as like ridiculous, I don't understand how you could look at it that way. It makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And he would be on my short list.
You guys are definitely selling me on it. I think one thing, if I'm speaking for Jaguar fans, I think a lot of people see like, oh well, 2 of our last 3 hires have been retreads, and I don't know if I think they sit here and they say, I know the pulse. What people are saying is, oh, we want to go out there and get the next young guy because obviously they see the Shanahan tree going crazy, McVay tree going crazy. So I think a lot of people potentially want that as opposed to getting an old curmudgeon in here. But I mean, you guys are definitely selling me on it. I would definitely
a retread that has 300 wins.
I mean, our last retread beat him in the Super Bowl.
There you go.
So there's no, I mean,
he is 302 wins and 165 losses in the regular season. His playoff record is 31-13.
Yeah.
He did a lot of that. I mean, most of it was with Brady, obviously, but there's enough of a resume without Brady to say pretty damn good coach. And you can also sit here and say the defense fell off without him this year. Now they have had some injuries. Barmore's been out, but that defense is not what it was when he was there. So I think that he would do a tremendous job getting the defense in a good place. And if you get the Jaguars defense in a good place, what does that do for Trevor? I mean, tell him all you got to do is score 14, 20 points a game and we're going to win. He's never had that experience in his NFL career.
And I think everyone would agree, like, we have the talent on this team. Like, we're not some scrub team with no talent. We just need someone that'll hold them accountable and bench them if they don't do well and not rotate them in no matter who's out there. We need someone who's going to hold these people's feet to the fire, chew their asses out in the film room, and get on them to execute, which is what this team needs to do. The talent's there. They're just inconsistent. So if we can get a coach in here that can get them to be consistent, this team could be as good as it was in 2022 at the beginning of 2023.
And you almost wonder, like, with where Bill Belichick is right now, I wonder if he's starting to assess all the head coach openings that will take place. I almost wonder if he takes some calls because obviously he's not just going to accept any old job that comes up. Whatever his next head coaching job will be, it will be his last head coaching job. So I almost wonder if he's going to try to pick a spot. And if he sees Jacksonville and he gives Shad Khan a good old call, I think sometimes it's easy to win over Shad Khan. I mean, Trent Baalke's done it. Urban Meyer's done it. So I wonder if he could potentially do that. And I do think that, you guys make some good points. I think Shad Khan could potentially fall in love with something like that. And obviously he has a resume. There's no putting that down. And I know people will say all different kinds of things and do anything they can to diminish the record that he has and the success that he has. But you don't, ordinary coaches and average middle of the road coaches don't go on and win 5-6 Super Bowls, however much he has. So it's definitely impressive stuff. Six. He's won 6, but I think he won like 2 when he was a part of the Giants or something, as a DC or somewhere.
Yeah.
He has 2 rings as a DC somewhere, but nevertheless.
Not
So what do you
bad.
guys think? So what do you guys think when because obviously the Jaguars spot is going to be open. What do you guys think makes a head coach or a GM opening attractive? Because when you look around at different spots right now, and I was kind of looking, it feels like you're going to have some head coach openings. The Bears, Bengals, Browns, Cowboys, Saints. You also have the Giants and Jets. Like when you look at different situations, like how do you assess whether a job is an attractive job to go to or not?
Resources, ownership support, the current roster, the potential to build the roster, which is free agency and the draft. To me, that's what it is. I mean, you could obviously probably also say, pedigree or history, which obviously the Jaguars don't have on their side, but they have everything else on their side.
What do you think? What do you think, Jason?
Yeah, all those things. I know everybody wants Ben Johnson. I know I always say this. I just don't see him coming here. I just don't. I mean, I think there is something to going and winning at one of these big markets for these guys, right? Like they're hyper competitive. They want to go win in Dallas. They want to go win in New York, right? Even New Orleans, pretty big market. I just think that when you're looking at it, these guys are, I mean, Jacksonville, like Jordan said, that the pedigree's not there. I mean, there's a chance these coaches are looking back and they're like, nobody can win under Shad Khan, regardless of what the team looks like on paper. Nobody can win under him. And they could look at Trevor and say something's wrong with Trevor. Like he has all, I mean, I heard Bomani Jones talking about it today. Something's up with Trevor. He said this. He's like, he's got all the tools. He's got the arm. He's got everything, but it's just not clicking. Right. So there's something up. And like, I think coaches,
that's ridiculous, honestly.
And listen, I agree, but I'm talking the questions about how candidates for a team are going to look at it. And if these are national guys saying this, you know?
But right. Bomani Jones is not a ball knower. Like you're talking about guys that grind the tape. Like if you're a potential head coach, offensive, whatever, you're watching Trevor Lawrence. You're actually, and you know what you're watching when you pull up the all 22.
I mean,
people that know what they're watching when it comes to Trevor Lawrence do not speak the way a lot of casual analysts speak about him.
And I will say, I don't see the game the same as you guys, because you guys definitely are big time film grinders, and I trust a lot of what you guys say. But I do know when I'm on Twitter and I actually see film breakdowners and guys that actually legit show like, hey, this is what I'm seeing on tape. Look at this. I mean, they all speak pretty good about Trevor Lawrence. It's the Richard Shermans and these guys that LaShawn McCoys that just kind of fire from the hip and have takes that want to get circulated and they want to kind of they just want to have these kind of takes all the way out there. It seems like those are kind of the guys that pull up Trevor Lawrence versus Daniel Jones stats and acts like that's going to tell the whole story. That's kind of what I noticed from out there. But Jason, we'll let you finish your point.
I mean, the only other thing is I want to add is like you can assign blame wherever you want, but turnovers from the quarterback position are turnovers. And when you look at the amount of turnovers that Trevor's had, they're alarming. And yeah, you can blame it on the wrong route, O-line not blocking, sure. But at the end of the day,
I mean, when he's been healthy the last 2 years, turnovers haven't really been a problem. They were a problem last year at the end of the year when he was injured.
Right. But
and this year, they haven't been a problem.
Well, listen, maybe the state income tax, the lack thereof, maybe is attractive to some people. Maybe that'll help us. But yeah, I mean, listen, I mean, if the Bengals job's open, you got Burrow there as a quarterback. So not even the best quarterback amongst the available coaching jobs, if we're looking at it that way.
Yeah, and that's my biggest concern potentially is that Bengals opening. The thing that will favor Jacksonville there is that like their owner doesn't spend money like Shad Khan does, and he'll give some players guaranteed money. Like he'll give Joe Burrow the guaranteed money or the players there, but other guys he'll try to kind of play hardball with. And I don't know, like
people in the NFL know the Bengals are cheap.
Yeah, so I don't know if like a coach goes there like. If a coach comes to Jacksonville, they know that the owner will give them all the resources they can to succeed. I don't know if you can say the same about the Cincinnati Bengals. Now, granted, at the same time, they have a Joe Burrow, which I think we can all say right now is better than Trevor Lawrence, and he's a fantastic quarterback. But you almost wonder how much like it would just suck if you want a player and the owner's like, oh, I don't want to give him that much guaranteed money. I want to give him $1 million less. So then you lose him to another team. I think that's something that could, drive teams crazy. You also look at, you have the Bears.
It'd be really interesting if you swapped Trevor Lawrence and Joe Burrow's places. What the narrative would be.
It would be. I mean, the thing that's funny now is
we'll never know.
The thing that's funny now is that Houston fans were talking all this trash about, Trevor Lawrence last year. When now CJ Stroud is in like the same exact situation as his offensive line isn't playing good. I think his stat line, it's like 12 touchdowns to 7 interceptions right now, CJ Stroud. It's not great. And now, of course, I'm very familiar with a lot of Texans fans. If you throw it right back at them, they get a little bit defensive. So, and that's always fun to potentially do. Like if you literally could swap players, like if you put Trevor Lawrence in Detroit, I don't think he's doing that much worse than Jared Goff, and you put him in these different situations, and it's like
I think if he was in Detroit, that they would like if he had been in Detroit since 2021. I think that they would have already won the NFC at least once.
And I had some people commenting to me like, Brock Purdy versus Trevor Lawrence, and how NFL success versus college success. I'm just like, dude, that is an insane comparison. I mean, just he has all pros all around him, best left tackle in the game, or at least at the time, and Deebo Samuel and Brandon Ayuk. It's unfortunate, and that's what I feel so bad with Trevor Lawrence. It's like Trevor Lawrence has to know that if he was in another situation, it would be so much better for him. But he got drafted to the Jacksonville Jaguars, and we are just a historically terrible organization. And this is what's sad for me is I really thought when we drafted Trevor Lawrence, it was like, boom, we had a quarterback issue solved. Now we just need mediocre, like average, just average around him will be good. But unfortunately, it hasn't been able to elevate. And, we've seen coaching be good at times, but we just haven't found the right thing. And it almost feels like it's going to be hard for any coach to succeed when Trent Baalke is out there drafting players. And when Trent Baalke is the very top, I mean, he's the highest up in the Jaguars football spectrum when it comes to, guys leading the charge on football operations. He is essentially the EVP. So it's going to be hard for any head coach to be successful. And that's why they need to get him out of there so bad.
I got a question for y'all. Is there any of these coaches that are potentially fired that you'd be interested in bringing in here? I mean, I would think specifically you'd be down to like Zach Taylor, Steven Stefanski, and Robert Saleh. Any of those names?
And Brian Daboll would be probably in there too.
Yeah, I guess you're right. Any of those guys do anything for y'all?
Not those guys.
Yeah, I mean,
as a
objectively,
DC,
I'm not saying they would be like at the top of my list, but I think Brian Daboll is a good coach. I think he's done really good. The Daniel Jones of it all is really muddies that water. But I also think that Kevin Stefanski is a really, really good coach. I think Stefanski would be fantastic, honestly. But I probably still have a couple guys higher on my list.
I wouldn't hire any of the guys that got fired this year. I mean, last year, of course, you have Belichick, you have Vrabel, you have some better names, but none of the guys this year. How about you, Jason?
I got this weird feeling that we're not going to get some of these top guys that we all want, and I hope I'm wrong. I hope we get Ben Johnson. I pray that we get Ben Johnson, right? Then I want him, and even Belichick. But like, I could see these guys, even Vrabel. I could see these guys being like, no, I'm gonna go somewhere else. And then if you're kind of stuck with some mid-tier guys, I like Kevin Stefanski. Like, I'd be okay with him. I'm not as big on Dayball as you guys are, but I think from that list, I think Stefanski would be interesting. I mean, he's been dealt a pretty bad hand up there in Cleveland, and he's done decent considering how bad they've been up there. The defense has looked great at times. You had a terrible quarterback situation. You had a terrible salary cap situation. You had a bunch of injuries at the offensive line. You lost Nick Chubb, your best player on offense, for a lot of the time you've been there. So I would be interested if we are going to that mid-tier. You know, you guys know I like Mike LaFleur a lot. He would be there with me as well. But again, he could be another guy that gets a job that not here. So Stefanski would be the name for me if amongst those.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I see. I just feel like the Jags the job's a little bit more attractive than I think you're kind of leading up, because I think the only thing working against the Jaguars right now is the fact that they're in Jacksonville. I mean, honestly, like, because there's no comparing like Dallas versus Jacksonville. Like, if you're truly like, I want to go to a legacy football team in a big city, I mean, that's gonna, if you're going after that, Jacksonville's automatically out of there, because you know you're gonna have both New York jobs probably open, or at least one. I mean, the New York Jets job is already open. Dallas is open. It feels like the Chicago Bears spot is going to be open. So if that's important to you, then those guys are going to be out of there. But you know, if you're a guy, but if that doesn't matter to you, I think that the Jags job is extremely attractive. I mean, you know, I believe in Trevor Lawrence. You know, I think we have a wide receiver one. I think we have really good edge rusher in Josh Hines-Allen. I mean, Tyson Campbell can be a very, very good player as well. We've seen him play some really high level football. So, and you know, you have some pieces sprinkled here and there. Now you need you need to start drafting really well, but the owner, like I said, man, the owner is going to give you all the resources you need. And also, one thing that we haven't mentioned is the fact that he's not a meddling owner. You look at where, like, Joe Douglas, while, you know, he probably played himself into getting fired, but toward the end of his tenure, you know, it was the Woody Johnson that said you need to trade for Devontae Adams. It was Woody Johnson that said, oh, we need to go out there and go ahead and pay Hassan Reddick to play. And there's probably many other things that he meddled in. I mean, he's been meddling since they traded for Tim Tebow. The Trod Khan doesn't do that. So, you know, in Dallas, Jerry Jones meddles. You know, in New York Jets, Woody Johnson meddles. And Shad Khan doesn't do that. I think the ultimate thing working against the Jacksonville Jaguars is the fact that you're just in Jacksonville. And it's the fact that you got a pretty big task when it comes to turning around a program that in a team and a franchise that has just been in the pits, hasn't had any sustained success since the 1990s. And, you know, we just saw that with the Detroit Lions. And, you know, like we said, when we look at Ben Johnson, there's just so many parallels that Dan Campbell did that we could totally use over here. But, you know, I think the Jags job is pretty attractive, and you know, for a lot of those reasons, I just think that as long as the city and the storied franchise isn't a big priority, I think that'll make the Jaguars job pretty attractive.
I think it's an attractive job too, but I think objectively you could argue that Chicago would be a better job. It's certainly a more legacy job. You have Caleb Williams, who's younger. He's not on the second contract. You have a ton of talent around him. I think you could argue about, you know, Cincinnati, just folks wanting to work with Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase, right? So,
I mean, in the Jets, that dude got fired and he drafted a hell of a team, dude.
He did.
Yeah, I like Joe Douglas.
You talk about Tyson Campbell being good. They got Sauce Gardner up there. You know, and I mean, the only thing they're missing is a quarterback. And
Joe Douglas did strike out on quarterback. So that's what you kind of have to sit there and say, yeah, I mean, you don't get to swing on a second overall pick quarterback and then swing and miss on Aaron Rodgers and keep your job. So I get that. But he did, in my opinion, he did build a really solid roster other than that.
But I will say that Jets job, or the Jets situation really gave me a lot of perspective of the fact that sometimes it's not even like the players, or like you can have as good of a roster ever, But like, man, at some point, it's like sometimes it's just hard to overcome an organization. Like, how does that team with that roster lose games? It's
that's
crazy
literally
to
the
me.
Jaguars.
I was about to say that.
Yeah. And that's what's so hard. It's like, dude, like there is something in these organizations that they just had to get through the suck, you know?
Yeah.
It's
Well, I mean, the Lions
to
did
me,
it.
I mean, the Jets, you made a bad decision, a couple of bad decisions at quarterback and meddling owner.
yeah.
But
Jaguars, it's Trent Baalke.
look
Yeah.
how the Lions got out of their stink of the franchise, as my friend Scott likes to say. They hired a culture guy that came in and changed the entire culture of the team. Not an offensive guy, not a play caller. They brought him in. He held people accountable. He changed the culture, changed everyone's mindset up there in Detroit, and they're probably the best team in football right now.
Yeah. And probably when you look in retrospect at the Doug Peterson thing, like I really thought bringing Doug Peterson in here would be the move just because like he's been on the bad end of like a power struggle. Obviously, him and Howie Roseman kind of had a falling out, and ultimately Doug Peterson, because he wanted to ultimately at the straw that broke the camel's back was he wanted Press Taylor as an offensive coordinator, and he said no. So they said, all right, you guys both get out of here. So I thought having that would be like, okay, he's been in a power struggle before. He's going to be able to understand like how to circumvent that. But, you know, obviously at some point they just are what they are. And maybe that's what he is. So when you move forward, I think, you know, culture guy, I mean, I think you guys can kind of open my eyes to, you know, potentially a Bill Belichick. And I think maybe even a Vrabel, because Vrabel's a big culture guy too. And, you know, he just wasn't able to maybe nail his quarterback because they went to at least one AFC championship with him, and they had number one seeds. And, you know, obviously it was through a run game, but it was having a tough defense. And
he got screwed.
Yeah.
They traded AJ Brown. He didn't want AJ Brown traded. And that's what ultimately led to them sucking on offense. I mean, AJ Brown, that move was such a power shift in the NFL. When AJ Brown is on the field for the Eagles, they're one of the most dominant teams in football. When he's not, they're average. Like that dude, Vrabel wouldn't have been fired if AJ Brown was still in Tennessee, in my opinion.
Yeah, that was it. And apparently the owner had set aside the money to pay him, but they decided to trade him. I don't know. I think maybe some ego and we've seen plenty of egos in the NFL, right? It's kind of what this game is all about. But I do want to let you guys all know, as you guys probably already know, all these streams are powered by BetUS. It's a bye week, so you know we don't have any Jaguar spreads to get into, but
We can't
they do
lose.
have a. What's that?
We can't lose.
We can't lose. Well, we will find a way to lose, maybe. I mean, we already lost the bye week, right? We didn't fire anybody. Does that count? So, obviously no game, but there are some updates here. They actually have now first overall pick odds. Last week it was just Travis Hunter stuff. I mean, right now they have NFL draft position of number 1 overall, quarterback at -260, and any other at +170. So BetUS believes that a quarterback will go number 1 overall. So, you know, if the Jaguars get in that spot, maybe they think that they trade back. First overall pick in the NFL draft. So right now, Shador Sanders and Travis Hunter are both tied at +200. That would be pretty crazy if like 1 and 2 are both players from the same school. And of all schools, Colorado. Looks like Cam Ward has the third highest odds at +600. But then you have a pretty big gap between him and the next guy, which is Jalen Milroe. So a bunch of different quarterbacks here. So, you know, I know, Jordan, you do a bunch of draft work. Like, do you think Shador Sanders will be the first quarterback off the board?
I really think it matters who is making that pick, and we don't know. I do think if the Jags finish with the first overall pick, which I do expect them to, they would trade it if they can. Who would move up? New York, Vegas,
Titans.
maybe. Yeah. Jags and Titans trading, that'd be fantastic.
I want 3 first-round picks to move back 2 spots.
Yeah. And, you know, it also matters, like, who's in charge in those spots. Like, if Dayball was still there in New York, I would say Cam Ward. lock it in. But it's so early. And I mean, if the Jaguars stuck and picked, I would guess not Shador Sanders, Travis Hunter, excuse me. So yeah, that's kind of my thoughts on that.
What do you think, Jason? Have you done?
I think the Browns would take Sanders.
Yeah, I think I think regardless of who's picking first, the trade gets picked to a team trying to get a quarterback. And I think it comes down to who plays better the rest of the college football season between Shador Sanders and Cam Ward. I would lean towards Shador Sanders, though. Although there's a chance that maybe some of his antics might scare some people away as far as his
dad.
Yeah, his dad. I mean, that's true too. There's a
Deion
whole factor
could straight up say, "Oh, he's not going to Cleveland."
Yeah, exactly. That's a good point.
Yeah, and that's a little weird. And it's one thing for the dad to get involved in Shador Sanders' future, but now he's getting involved in Travis Hunter's. You're a grown man. I feel I don't know. I just feel I wouldn't want this guy kind of interfering with where I go. So I'm trying to find. I think they don't have the Jaguars at win. I think BetUS is taking the Jaguars off of the NFL regular season win futures.
Probably
I think they're
smart.
too unpredictable. That's kind of funny. Look, I think they're missing a team, and that team is the Jaguars. The Jaguars have a weird upcoming schedule. So let's go into NFL Super Bowl winner. Let's see where the odds are on this one. Well, this is very jumbled up. It looks like Kansas City Chiefs 450, Detroit Lions at plus 350. Big gaps here. So I guess there they are. Bills plus 650, Eagles plus 800, and the Ravens at plus 800. Do you guys kind of have a favorite so far? I know for myself, man, I know they're the favorite right now at plus 350, but I don't know who's going to take down the Lions. And especially in the NFC, they are looking very, very good right now.
I mean, they're the betting favorite for a reason. Obviously, you can't predict injuries. Obviously, a team to look out for though, the Buffalo Bills. Man, they're kind of clicking, and I like the way Josh Allen's playing. They could be a sneaky team right there.
Yeah, if we were going just based off of vibes, it's Detroit and Buffalo. Before the season, I've told y'all I had Philly and Kansas City, and I'm going to still ride with that. I just think Philly has the best roster in the NFL. I think they have professional coaching on both sides. And, as much as you want to celebrate for the Bills, you did it. You took down the Chiefs. You always take down the Chiefs in the regular season. You always lose in the postseason.
Isn't it what now 1-3? Patrick Mahomes versus Josh Allen in the regular season are 1-4, but Mahomes is undefeated against them in the postseason.
Yeah.
This is the month of the Bills, and their whole thing is I don't think under Josh Allen they've ever even reached the AFC Championship game, which is a little bit crazy. But why don't we just put a cool $10? I always like to put money on something on here live, so we'll just put $10 on the Bills. Why not? We'll see what happens.
You don't want to take the Jags at plus 10,000?
Let's see. What will that net us? Let's put $5 down. $5,000. I made a short.
The 8-9 Jacksonville Jaguars have shocked the world. They went on the road. They took down the Bills, the Chiefs.
Could you imagine
the entire AFC, the Baltimore Ravens?
Could you imagine that was actually going to go on? I got a short coming up, and I was like, oh, guys, you want some free money? You want some really good investment advice? Go to the Jaguars on the AFC South, put $100 down on them, and you can win $100,000. How about that? Oh, no, they're at this one. Okay, 100. They're at $20,000. Wouldn't that be something?
Not bad.
So if you guys want some easy investing advice, because I know everyone goes on TikTok for that, definitely hit that up. But yeah, guys, BetUS is a sponsor of all these streams. Really appreciate them for powering us. This is kind of sad that the Jaguars aren't a little bit better, but do appreciate BetUS for supporting this show and this channel. And we're going to keep on rolling on with just the rest of the Jags season. And I do want to get some super chats. I know some came in, but I just wanted to keep the conversations flowing. Taking this to my world said, if Shad dies someday, do you think Tony takes over? Probably.
Yeah.
I think a lot of times
Super bizarre question.
Yeah, a little bit
by the
bizarre. I think a lot of times when you have family, they pass it on to the kids. But yeah, that would happen. David says, what are the odds of getting a good coach these days? Last best coach we had was Coughlin, so maybe it's time for Belichick. We kind of spoke about this earlier. I mean, I think Shad Khan's going to swing for a big fish. I don't think he's just going to accept anybody that just accepts the job. I don't think we're going to bring in a Gus Bradley or a Brandon Staley type of hire. I think they're going to go after a big name. And I think we all kind of spoke a little bit about that earlier. That dude, Evan, says, time to call our savior. His name is Blake Bortles. Yeah, that's man, we gotta get Blake Bortles on a podcast, man. He's I wish we saw him around Jackson a little bit more. I wish at least he was a little bit more active on social media, because I think he embodies what it is to be a Jacksonville man.
I believe he's building a house in Nocatee. I believe.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. So he's definitely getting hurting right now.
Yeah.
He definitely hurt.
Why would you be on social media though?
Yeah. I feel that
he's
sometimes.
just wanting to rip cigs, drink some Bud Light, eat some tacos.
Yeah.
We
all know I'm the king of social media and keeping a good profile out there. So Tekken is my world. $5 donation. And do you think it's a red flag? Ben Johnson says he wants to be a play calling head coach. Could this possibly mean that he values this more than other things to be a head coach? I don't think it's a red flag.
No.
I think it's a green flag.
No.
How about you, Jason?
Trying to think in my head, successful head coaches amongst the teams right now that are play callers. You got the Chiefs. You got
McVay, Shanahan,
49ers. What about the successful ones that aren't play callers? Obviously, Dan Campbell.
John Harbaugh.
Yeah. So
Jim
I
Harbaugh.
yeah. McDermott. Is he called plays? I don't think so. Does he?
He's a defensive guy, right? No, he's offensive.
I don't know. He's the defense. I don't know if he's calling plays. I think he does.
Joe Brady call plays?
Defense, buddy. Defense.
Oh, defense. Okay.
Defense.
So, I mean, it
Joe
can work
Brady
either way.
know.
No, I don't care.
Yeah.
I
It
don't
doesn't
care.
have to be one way or the other, but if you're getting Ben Johnson, you want him calling plays.
Yeah. No.
The better
100%
question
agree.
is Ben Johnson going to be a good play caller outside of Dan Campbell's system? Because how amazing was Josh McDaniels for all those years? And then he leaves Belichick and he's terrible. Obviously it's a cherry-picked analogy, but could that happen?
Is that just me?
Yes.
I don't know.
All right. I missed something.
Sorry, I got distracted. What'd you say?
I said, is there a chance that Ben Johnson's leaves Dan Campbell's system and isn't as good?
Yeah.
I mean, I think
got
that's a big possibility.
It is Ben Johnson's offensive system, though. Like, Dan Campbell is not a offensive. I mean, he played tight end, but he's never been a play caller. But
has he ever been an OC? Wasn't he just tight ends coach everywhere he was?
Yeah, he's never been a play caller. So it's Ben Johnson's system, but they have the offensive line, they have the infrastructure. There's a good chance he goes somewhere that doesn't have those same pieces and it doesn't look the same. But that's why he's so selective about where he's going.
Yeah. Good point.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, if you're not a head coach, there's no guarantee anywhere. I mean, there are certain guys, like it feels like if you bring in the Jim Harbaugh, you're going to eventually be good. Sean Payton, you're going to eventually be good. I mean, these guys have kind of proven this, and they've gone to franchises that haven't been very good, and it seems like they're turning things around. There really is no guarantee, and we've seen some guys that look like great hires just turn out not to be. So. With that said, I do want to take a look ahead at the Jaguars' schedule coming up. They have 6 games left. The next game is against the Texans at home, and then you have a bunch of just kind of crappy teams at Tennessee, home against the New York Jets, and then 2 Las Vegas, then at home against the Titans, and then at Indianapolis. If you want to go to the Texans game in 2 weeks, tickets starting at $23.88. We're back in that time of the year where we suck and people are giving away tickets. So, I want to get your guys' record through the rest of the season. Jason, we'll start with you, okay? With this upcoming schedule. Actually,
Jeez.
I'll go first while you guys think about it because y'all's reputations are on the line. I'm just some loudmouth on Twitter. Okay.
Okay.
So I'll go first, and you guys can copy.
Didn't realize I had a reputation, but okay, I'll take it. Good,
dude.
good.
You're the gambling guy.
That's true.
You go out here and teach me and Jordan how to look at spreads and how to look at over unders. I mean, I've won. Obviously, you see my BetUS account. That is all from you. Yeah. So I think the Jaguars. I think the Jaguars go 2-4. I think they split with the Titans, and I think they win in Vegas. Actually, no, they win at home against the Jets because we're in throwbacks. You can't lose in throwbacks.
Yeah, I like that. I
think it's crazy to predict. We don't know about Trevor.
Yeah,
but
that's true. I mean, the schedule's so easy. Like, I could sit here and be like, oh, I could see us beating the Titans. I could see us beating the Jets. I could see us beating the Raiders and then the Titans again. And then maybe sneak one against the Colts, like maybe, but then you're like, wow, this team is so bad. There's no chance.
I mean, it is true. I mean, this team without Trevor, and we haven't seen a touchdown in 7 quarters. That's how bad things are right now.
I actually think they'll go 2-4 as well, though. I think they will beat the Titans once because it's the Titans. And yeah, probably the Jets. The Raiders is in Vegas.
Yeah,
I would say one of those games.
Too. We're not
I don't think they're going to beat the Colts in Indy this year.
Yeah.
I think the Colts are going to be playing for something. I think the Jaguars will be playing to finally relax for a little bit.
Yeah, and
if the Jags win 5 out of the next 6.
Oh God, please don't tell me that.
I
don't want to do that. I don't want to do that.
What does the end of the season look like if they win 5 out of the next 6?
Nobody's fired.
Well, what happens is they'll fire Doug Peterson, they'll promote Ethan Waugh to GM, and then we'll officially not fully clean house, we'll kind of clean house. No, dude, we can't. There has to be a decision made by now. Like this is what I fear, man. This is why I wanted Doug Peterson gone so much. It's just like these wins at this point are such crap wins. Like what is a win in Vegas going to do for me? Like what is and that's what stinks right now is that look, we have our 4 out of the last 6 games are against our rivals, and we honestly shouldn't be winning these games. But man, I just hate picking up crap wins that are gonna. And you look at Tankathon right now. I mean, dude, so many teams with 2 wins right now and 3 wins, and we could easily do that, and all of a sudden we're drafting number 13, and then it's like shit, man. That makes the job way less attractive. So,
yep.
So
I mean, I think Jordan's right. If they win 5, they're not firing anybody.
Dude, I swear, bro.
I think they're running it back.
No way. They cannot run this back, dude.
They're not going to do that, though.
They cannot run this back.
Yeah, they're not going to do it, but
that would be the absolute worst. So do you guys think, Jordan mentioned Trevor, man, if he hasn't had surgery by now, is he even going to have it? I think it's just a little bit, of course they were kind of waiting around, but dude, we're more than 2 weeks since the injury happened. Are we getting?
I think we'll find out. If he's trying to practice this upcoming week for Houston or not. I think that'll be the ultimate answer to that question.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like if he has that surgery by now, then he'll probably try to play. Which, it's definitely more fun with him and they're playing football. Of course, now Christian Kirk and Gabe Davis are out for the year. Not that Gabe Davis makes much of a difference, but
no Gabe Davis.
No,
you got BT, Evan, Brenton.
That's true.
Parker.
Yeah, some guy. They don't like to look at Parker Washington very much, but he's still out there.
Why? You got Luke Farrell. Why do you need Parker Washington? That doesn't. I mean, come on.
And we have Brenton Strange, who's always Strange is always in there, ready to go. He's always got plenty of tank in it, fuel in the tank. But I don't know why we don't utilize the guy we drafted in the second round, but you know,
He's
us
been
with
pretty
our second round
solid
picks.
too. When they target him, he does a good job.
I don't know why is he going into these games? I just don't understand. It baffles me.
I don't
But
know.
And you're forgetting about jump ball master Dearness Johnson. Like, why would you not target him? When
back shoulder fade, Dearness Johnson.
Yeah. Come on.
Oh man, yeah, wheel route, Dearness Johnson. But oh gosh, it's sad state right now. We have 6 more games left. We just have to push through. I do think that at this point, if Trevor hasn't had surgery, I think we see him again. And Mac Jones has been terrible to watch. This team has been terrible to watch. Defense doesn't make a lot of big plays. It's just another 2-9 Jaguar football season where we're used to it, but maybe not with these high of expectations. So
at least watching Trevor would make it like somewhat palatable.
It is
potentially.
Because, man, this offense has not been good to watch at all.
It's been so bad. And if that doesn't illustrate to you just how bad things are around Trevor Lawrence, I don't know what will.
Yeah, I mean, this offense has no pulse without him, and he is an ultimate deodorant to this team because I know everybody when they're watching it and the offense is doing good, the first guy you want to point at is the quarterback, which there's so many other issues going on. But hey, I'm not going to tell fans how to fan, but man, like look at the Jaguars offense with him versus without him, and yeah, you'll get a pretty good idea of maybe where we should be looking at for blame, but it is what it is. But all right, guys, that's been your latest episode of Club Jaguar. I do want to thank my co-hosts for coming on here and joining me. Jordan, tell us a little bit about what you got going on your channel. I know somebody was asking about your hat. They said, where'd you get that hat? Let them know.
Ginjag.com.
Ginjag.com.
That's it. Pretty simple.
Sweet.
Got a lot of sweet hats up there. So, yeah, what are we doing? I just did Is Walker Little, the Jaguars' future left tackle. You can go check that out.
Hey,
it's a deep dive into that one.
0 pressures the last 2 games, right?
Yeah. Clean sheet in 3 of 5.
I'm sure Jason's excited about that one.
Yeah, I mean, when you've had the ball as an offense as long as the Jaguars have the last 2 games, it's incredible that he hasn't given up any pressures with all the snaps he's played. It's insane.
Yeah, to me, I think he's been playing like slightly above average as a starter, and I don't think that's great, obviously. But when you look around at what the potential options are via the draft or free agency this upcoming year, it gets interesting. I think Garrett Bowles is going to be the top free agent tackle, and obviously he would be a huge upgrade for them if they were able to go make that swing. But he's also 32 years old. But we covered that today. We'll be looking at how Brian Thomas Jr. is doing, how well he's playing, and that's all I've got planned so far for the rest of the week. But we'll definitely get some good stuff out for you. 2 episodes a day.
Sweet, man. Sweet. 2 episodes a day, man. You're a grinder.
Yeah, that's what I do. 2 a day.
I go out here and do Club Jaguar on Wednesday. I try to clip it up and say, all right, that's a week worth for me. But Jason, let us know. Hey, you went live last night. Very impressive. Do we got another live stream coming up on Friday?
Grades.
The Baalke, we gave Baalke a report card grade, and I got ridiculed mercilessly because of my math. Because I was using Siri for math on some questions, on some problems I should have done without it, but you know how
9 divided by 3.
9 divided by 3. It's a little listen, they're late night streams, if you know what I mean. Yeah, no, I'm not gonna go live this Friday. I got a buddy in town, and we're gonna be hanging out, so I'm gonna try to do a show tomorrow night instead. So if your options are to watch Thursday Night Football or Jags United, that option seems pretty easy to me. So check us out tomorrow night.
Hell yeah. And guys, both of these guys' channels are linked down below. Definitely go give them a subscribe, man, because they put out some great content. If you guys are in here right now, I mean, you guys love your Jaguars content. If you guys are in here on Club Jaguar on a 2-9 Jacksonville Jaguars team, you guys are just begging for Jaguars content. And look, we're all in this together. We suck right now, but 2025, I think, is our year. I think 2025 is the year we finally win the Super Bowl, and that will start in January. And that's why we spent this whole entire stream talking about next year. not a lot of time spent talking about this current Jaguars team. We're just 6 games left. Got to get through it. I swear to God, we better not win 5 out of these last 6. If you're gonna win one, I think beating Houston would be kind of fun. That'd be kind of funny to maybe for Houston to implode and have a be 2022 Titans, 2023 Jacksonville, but I don't know. Got to be hard to happen. Got to get an assist from the Colts. But all right, guys, thank you for being here. Please drop a like on the stream. Go subscribe to these guys' channel, and also big thank you to BetUS. Remember, 150% deposit bonus using promo code YouTube150. Peace. We are out.
Go Jags.